Walking Blind is hosted by overly emotional dudes who overthink and overanalyze everything. Nothing the hosts say should be taken as medical advice or opinion. They're not professionals, and they're about to make that very clear. So just kick back and hang with them, because you've earned it. Now cue that music. So, next song is...
Oh, one last little thing. The breakdown in stages at the end, the you held me together.
Yeah.
So, I thought it was already like a cool breakdown. And I think at some point we should release the original of what it sounded like compared to what it is now. And it's funny. The music for stages was something that Daniel was always kind of like, oh, it sounds like this, or this could be better. Like he was kind of always kind of chipping away at it. And then I remember him saying like, I'm gonna change the breakdown. And I remember thinking like, no, like I don't like writing breakdowns, like patterns and breakdowns. Like it's like my least favorite part to write for. And he's like, no, he's like, don't worry, it's like structurally it'll be about the same, but I'm gonna just change it a little bit. It sounds different, way different from what it was before, and it's such a upgrade. I think it's probably one of like our heaviest parts, or at least one of our hardest parts. And it was like a kind of a last minute change that Daniel did, and I'm stoked.
And I think vocally too, like we got you to hit the notes that you don't normally. Yeah, you're hitting like lower notes that you don't normally hit,
which was made easier because I was finally screaming in like one more natural, like where I normally would scream at.
Yeah,
and that range is good for me because it's higher anyway. I think my scream is probably on the higher side, and so going lower, it's not like compared. If you guys have heard this guy scream, it's not his low, but it's low for me, and it just sounds more drastic because I think it's my scream.
Yeah,
my scream's high.
Well, because your scream is already up here, and then so when you hit lower notes, like it's really not low per se, but compared to what you're doing, it's low. Yeah, and it just sounded really fucking cool when we got it. When we got it out of you, we were like, yes, and Martin was like, yes, what's that?
Finally,
fuck.
Yeah. Mike and I gonna have a joke that I don't even think Martin knows about, but it's like we have to get Martin has to like give his like stamp of approval on it, or else it's not dope.
Yeah, it's not cool unless Martin puts his stamp of approval on it.
All right.
All right. So the Wait. This is probably one of my favorite songs on the record.
I think this might be my favorite. I kind of bounce back and forth, but this one was the most difficult to write just because of the subject matter. So the Wait. This song, it's definitely, when I write, I try to pull from different life experiences personally, or I pull from, like a series of people who have been through similar things. So I've lost friends to suicide, and when I was writing this, I definitely had all of them in mind, and even some of the stories from friends that I've shared with me, their loss. And so for me, even though I had different people in mind, my main person I was writing about was my buddy Brian. Brian's from the Salt Lake City area, and we knew him from playing shows together. His band used to play with us, and he was just like a sweet dude. Like that was like the one thing that I always think of which probably sounds weird to say about like a dude in hardcore, but he was just a sweet dude. He was nice. I always appreciate because I feel like I was the same way where like I want to know like details or random facts.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I always anything. I want to know details or if it's not or give me a random fact. You know. Like I go down the rabbit hole when I see like celebrities that can sing or like athletes that can play music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like random stuff. And so I really would always appreciate Brian. Brian would have really he'd always ask me like really interesting yeah. And I'm full of it. And so he would ask me really interesting questions and I always appreciated that about him and or he'd want to know details of stuff. Like there's what was it? It's the same thing. Like, if there's anything I won't eat before I play, or I don't know, just stuff like that. Yeah,
That's a valid question.
Yeah, and the answer is no. I will eat pretty much anything.
But is there a time frame that you won't eat?
Yeah, I try to give myself at least like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I'll eat like hard before then, but I feel like that gives me enough time to kind of at least walk it off before I go on stage.
I'm always afraid that I'm gonna have to take a dump like mid performance.
Dude, I can say that I've never shit myself on stage.
Hey.
I feel like there may have been like a close call with like, you know, sketchy food.
Just sketchy like gas station food
dude.
or
okay. Actually, I guess it would have been if anything would happen, it would have been more of me throwing up. There was a tour we did and we all got food poisoning.
Okay.
All of us, the entire like everyone in our van, and we were staying. Freaking the guys from Within the Ruins.
Mm-hmm.
They were letting us crash at their house. We weren't even on tour with them. They just let us crash at their house, and we were all like, it was bad, dude. We were like, it wasn't even like we were kind of throwing up. We were like projectile vomiting. Oh. I remember puking and like nothing touched my teeth. Like it just like it was like a drag. I was like a dragon. It was cool. And then
just straight liquid. Just
dude, it was so bad. It was so bad. Like yeah, I don't like okay. But I remember the next show. I was like, I want to shit myself, or I'm gonna puke on stage, like in front of people.
Yeah,
like this is gonna happen. I can't believe it. Didn't happen though, thankfully. I think we all had like trash cans by us during that set.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay. What the weight?
Okay. Oh my gosh.
So you were talking about.
Yeah. So all that to say was Brian. I saw him as a friend. He's a friend of mine. I really enjoyed him as a friend. He was just a good dude, and so what makes his stories or his situation stand out to me.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off, but if you turn around and look out the glass window, the dogs are humping each other. They just stopped, and the camera angle. I think you block it off just right where they can't see it, but I was kind of hoping that they could.
He's got a little, what's Chewy?
I have a little mutt who's like a cocker. They say he's a cocker spaniel mix, but he looks like a 30-pound golden retriever.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Almost like a wiener.
Yeah. Full grown. He looks like a golden retriever, but he's only like 30 pounds. And then I have a like 70-pound English bulldog, and the little dog just likes to mount. The bulldog, I can't do anything to stop it. They're both fixed, so I'm a responsible pet owner. Anyways, sorry, I didn't want to point out that fact before you dove like into the heavy stuff. Yeah. I had to bring it up beforehand, but all right, carry on.
All right, okay.
Apologies.
I think this is like our way of like trying
to not get emotional about it. Yeah.
And so okay, so Brian reached out to me, and I didn't even know that Brian had depression issues or anything. So when he approached me, he was saying how he was taking medication. And he's like, I'm gonna have to keep taking more, and it's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to keep taking more because it's like then I'm not me anymore. So what's the point of living, kind of thing. And so his reaching out to me was because he wanted to see if I had heard or if I knew of any ways to or if I knew of any like holistic approaches that he could do on top of taking his medication. Cause he was telling me, he's like, dude, he's like, my depression is like, it's severe. And I just, the only answer they keep giving me is to keep taking more medication. And I don't want that. And so that was kind of what our conversations were mostly about. You know, I was looking up different things to eat. And then obviously like going over different coping things with him and so, but what killed me about Brian was, he was saying that he would express that he's like, you know, and for anyone who doesn't understand how serious suicide is, or depression is when you're going through it and you're low, it's very easy to say like, okay, well, yeah, I don't want to die, or I would never kill myself, or I would never, you know, when you're going right and you're rationally thinking, like a lot of those thoughts don't come in your mind. And Brian was like that when I was talking to him. He's like, dude, I don't want to die. Like when he was, you know, he's like, but he has a daughter. He's like, I don't want to die. He's like, but I feel like this is going to take me and I don't want to leave my daughter, which is like super, super hard to hear. And especially when I was hearing about, just he was telling me about how bad his depression was. And, it was just really tough to hear him talk and struggle with it, because it's like he knew, you know. At some point I want to I've actually had an opportunity to reach out and talk with Brian's mom, and she, at some point, I feel like we're gonna maybe we can get her on here. She wants to talk because she wants to share her son's story, and she feels like you know, if his life can help someone, she wants to do it.
I think that there's something to say in the fact too that, like, you know, a lot of times the people that are depressed, that are feeling this way, that have, you know, thoughts of suicide, or even like you said, are in that mind space where they're like, I'm depressed, I don't want to let this beat me, I don't want to let this win, are also, for the most part, the most quiet about it. They're the ones that you would never know, you know, unless they opened up to you. Like, you know, I have even, you know, friends, or even in my own experience, like you hit very low points. And for me, it's always been dealing with that with like jokes and humor, so that you would never see, I guess, like the sad, you know? And so when you have people like that, where even just the slightest conversation, that's the only way that they know how to reach out. That's the only way that they know how to, like, you know, kind of ask for help in a way, you know? So those situations or scenarios are never, ever, ever easy. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, how do you approach it? You know what I mean? Like, how do you, what can you do? Because I mean, like you said, and kind of preface at the beginning of the show, like, out of everybody at this table, you're the most qualified to talk about this stuff. But, you know, as if it really comes down to, like, you're not a licensed, you know, quote unquote professional, you know, so there's, and when it comes down to cases where you're talking depression, you're talking things like this, where you're medicated and you start to feel less like yourself on the medicine that's supposed to be helping save your life, that is detrimental also, because then you lose sight of who you are because of the drugs that you're on that are supposed to be saving who you are. And it's like just this huge clusterfuck, you know, like your head just, you know, shit at some point, it's just like shit doesn't compute, and then what do you do there, you know?
And you know, I like with any situation, it's always humbling that they reach out to me, and I remember feeling like I felt like optimistic, because you know, because we did try to look for, like, you know, I was telling them, like, oh, you know, like, there's things that you can do for your diet to raise, like, serotonin, you know, physical activities like walking and stuff like that. And, you know, and so from, you know, obviously I wasn't there with him. I didn't live with him, which again would be great when I could talk to his mom. But, you know, from what I understand, he tried everything and he did everything, and he was trying, you know, and I got that, and I felt he was very sincere in talking about, you know, how difficult it is to have what he has, and to feel how he feels, you know, and not want to, you know, do that to his family, you know, especially his daughter. And so that was really hard to hear. And, you know, sadly he did take his life, and it was hard. It was rough, you know. Those like I like that one hits me personally, because like I was talking to them, and I knew, like, he let me in on what was going on, and I tried to help as much as I could, offered advice I could. You know, he was getting professional help and stuff, but that's just like that's like, it's crazy that people still don't think that this is like that serious of a thing, or that's just something you just brush off, or just something that you can just, you know, like, well, you know, just do this and you'll feel better, or like, or just, you know, or just don't stop doing that and you'll feel better. Just stop doing this, or you start doing this.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't understand that, like, you can be doing all the right things and you can still feel that way. You can still find yourself, you know, feeling low. And, you know, then the easy thing to say is like, well, then why even bother?
Right.
Then why even try? If someone like him fought so hard only to have that happen, then what's the point? What hope is there? You know, and I don't have an answer for that, other than, you know, I have met people that have been able to, that are still here, basically, right? And you don't know, like, I don't, like, I know it sounds, you know, I know I just said that, you know, he tried everything he could, but, you know, there's always things out there. There's always something, you know, and, again, with his situation, I think talking with his mother, like, there's a little more to it that I'd like for her to kind of explain. But, you know, my encouragement is just that, you know, you never know. And, you know, it's a very serious sickness, because it catches you, you know, at your lowest. That's what, you know, it's what it is. It makes you feel all kinds of things, and it puts you in a place where you're not thinking like you normally would. And, you know, in those moments is when you can get caught, and you can, you know, something like this can happen. And that's kind of just where I wrote this song from, was just the fact that, you know, we don't know what somebody's going through, because, you know, being around, you know, I've, like, it's one of those things where I've had an opportunity to talk with people, and I've heard a lot of different stories, and it's
humbling.
It's humbling, because, you know, we don't know what someone's going through. Like, it's easy, like, the old narrative is to say, like, oh, like, you know, they were being, you know, how selfish of them. How could they think about leaving their family, or how could you think about leaving his daughter, you know, or like what a cowardly thing to do, or like, oh, they couldn't, you know, oh, they take the blame, and they, you know, we've heard all those things. And, you know, in some aspects, yeah, you know, now the burden is put on an entire family, or now it's, but we don't know what someone's going through in those moments. You know, when I was talking with Brian, he wanted to be here. He didn't want to take his life. He wanted to be here for his daughter. He wanted to be here for his family. He wanted to get better. So, you know, to think like, oh, he didn't care. It's like, I know that's not the case, you know? So all I'd say is, like, we don't know what somebody's going through in those last moments, you know? And so to paint a narrative of, like, you know, trying to assume we know. What was that? Sorry, I got a new phone. I don't know if you have a new phone.
Finally.
But yeah, we just don't know. We don't know what someone's going through in those last moments, and so this song, in a way, it's not resolved in the sense that, like, there's an answer. The song doesn't provide an answer. It talks about a situation, asks questions, and it's just the one thing that we can do is, keep building awareness for this and to share that person's story. And, talking with Brian's mom, she wants to share her son's story because she's hoping that it'll help. And I believe it will. I wish I could tell my buddy Will, who, he was the first person that, it's crazy that like I have a degree because of Will in a weird way.
Yeah. And we talked about him a bit on the first, episode,
but you don't know, like, and Will through, what I've been able to do in my small little platform has created a lot of conversations and a lot of people I've met. It's been really cool to hear like what a lot of people are doing, in honor of their friends, or people that are either struggling currently or people that they've lost. And so this song is I just wanted to like, it's not answering that impossible question. It's just kind of like hopefully a conversation starter, for, a subject matter that's, incredibly serious. So that's the weight.
Yeah, that's not it. Once again, it's not easy stuff to talk about. It's not,
Yeah, the question, and I know people don't mean it this way, but people like what's I forget how they word. They ask like if it's fun to be an advocate for mental health or to speak on depression and suicide. It's like fun is not the word.
Yeah,
it's not. I would rather write about other things. I'd rather write about fun things. But.
And I think that there's there's something to say about, suicide and depression and, whatever, else that may come with it, is that it doesn't just affect certain people. It doesn't just affect, it doesn't affect just Will, just, Brian. It's really one of those things where, there's, I won't say who, but there's a certain guest that you and I have talked about that I really want to get on this show, which I think would be amazing, right? And to think somebody like that would also have these suicidal thoughts and you look at them and you go, hey, everything's going right. Why do you feel this way? And then also when everything's going wrong, what do you do from there? Where do you go from there? So I know that sounds really cryptic and vague because it's just some shit that we can't talk about. We can talk about. I don't know.
We'll get there. Yeah. Dear static. Is that my phone? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you hearing it in your headphones?
I heard for like 2 seconds, but it's gone now. Oh, this is the poor man's Dr. Pepper?
No, that's the Dr. Pepper.
Is it?
You've been drinking. I'm just kidding.
No, I was like, this is clearly like the root beer.
This is clearly root beer and Coca-Cola.
Damn.
Okay, so
all right.
Song 6, Regret.
Song 6 is Regret. I'm really curious to hear people's thoughts on this one. Because I feel like it's a little bit different. It's like probably the...
yeah.
I guess this this one and then the next one are kind of oddballs, I feel like.
Yeah. The next one's going to be fun for you.
Mm-hmm. So this one is Regret. The literal story I took is it's from Matthew 14. And it's about Peter walking on water. I don't know where anyone is with their beliefs. It's not the point of this. It's more of a just a question.
It's a story.
It's a story about like wherever you are on beliefs of if this happened or not. That's not the point of this. The idea is just the story is. Peter is a disciple of Jesus, and he walked on water to meet Jesus, who was walking on water. And so I've always heard this story, and as like even a young kid, I've always been like, why didn't anyone else get out of the get out of the boat? Like that was like always been like my immediate thought. And so I don't know. So this is kind of just a take on that story of to have been there for all of, things the Bible says that happened, and to be a part of it. Peter was one of 12 disciples, but only.
Now, okay, sorry, not to cut you off, but I want to get the story straight because I know the story, but so this is the story where he's asked to walk to Jesus on the water and is told like,
well, he sees Jesus and he asks if he can walk to him.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And then essentially Jesus is like, yeah, but you have to have faith. Realistically, like you have to have faith.
Have faith. Keep your eyes on me.
And don't question it. Essentially.
But, yeah.
Like in the most layman of terms, right? And in the story, he does start to walk on water. Mm-hmm. And then when he kind of questions what's going on, what he's doing, when he kind of loses that like
focus,
and he looks down, then that's when he falls.
Yeah,
right?
He's a sink.
Yeah.
And so that's context of the story. And so my thing was just, there's, the other disciples have been there for the most part. They've seen everything Peter's seen. And it just, I don't know, it's just odd to me that like nobody else wanted to walk on water.
Nobody else was like, oh dude, let me try this out.
Yeah. And so I just kind of the idea of seeing someone else do something great. And that's where I felt like the regret was that, the original idea was, writing from the perspective of basically judging your life on someone else's achievements and how that gets you nowhere. And, I feel like everyone does it. I used to find myself kind of doing it, going back to school in my 30s, like not ideal. And just kind of seeing, where my friends were, seeing people where they were in their lives and, just feeling a certain way, feeling like, oh man, they're, anyway, just seeing someone else do great things and you feeling like you're stuck in the boat. And so that's kind of where this song came from. Just, being so close, to doing something great and seeing it happen in front of you, and just that regret of like, oh, that could have been me. It should have been me, and just kind of like, it's almost like a negative song because this one doesn't kind of resolve either.
Yeah.
but I just hope it's like a cautionary tale that it's just, don't be that person that just sits back and wonders what if,
like sometimes your friend tells you for 2 years that, hey man, you should do a podcast. And you're like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yes. And so, so finally doing it. And then, cause you don't know. And then also just be, learn to be happy where you're at. Cause, I got to do a lot of fun things. But I'm not thinking that when I'm like in class and I'm one of the oldest people in my class.
Yeah.
And it's easy to think of, I wish I would have done this, but it's like, no, like I don't regret my experiences and the people I've met.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my favorite line is I can see everything.
Yeah.
And realizing like, oh, I see how badly
I fucked that one up.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really curious to see the response on that, just because I feel like once people like realize what the story is in general, they might like poo-poo it already because they're like, whatever.
Well, I think that there's going to be the group of people that are like, oh, stories about Jesus, but it's not really like, it's more about the The message.
Yeah.
Message.
The message.
So we've got one more song. And I recently just texted you about the song. I was like, hey, I really like this song. The record's becoming one of my favorites. And you were like, this is going to be a hell of a record or a hell of a song to sing live.
Pull off live. We like to do that. And I guess I have no one else to blame but myself. Daniel and Tron both said they wanted to write a 2-step that was too fast to 2-step 2.
Okay.
So
that's valid.
Yeah. So I'm like looking forward to see. I kind of want to like announce that and be like,
you're going to have kids 2-stepping the fuck out of this though.
I feel like pretty much most of New York could do it. Like we're just East Coast kids.
East Coast kids are going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
Every time you play this show, here's the thing. If you, and like I don't play in no bagging rights, so Mike will just have to validate this for me. Mm-hmm. If you listen to this show and you see NBR play live and Mike announces that they're going to play Unapologetic, I just want somebody in the crowd that listens to the show to yell challenge accepted. And then just see how fast you can fucking 2-step,
dude.
Because that's gonna tell us, or that's gonna tell Mike essentially.
I don't know.
He'll know.
I think our whole band will know. I want like even the dudes in NBR, if they didn't know this, if we announce that song and somebody says challenge accepted,
yeah,
I think everybody we would all know. So
and if it's a SoCal show, I'll probably be around, so I'll listen for it too.
Get those Air Max.
Oh man, get
moving.
Get the Air Max 90s going, man.
But it's a fun. I really enjoyed this song. This is probably the most like personal song for me on the EP, as far as like my own personal experience. The song is Unapologetic. It's weird. I have this is like, I don't think anyone cares about this, but when I think of this song, I right away think of when I was interning. I was a counselor at a high school, and I remember driving home in traffic and like just bumping this and like kind of trying to come up with the melody, because like I said, when I wasn't allowing myself to like put any pen to paper while I was in school. Like for anyone who doesn't understand, I'm not a good student. I have to like try extra hard. So like I have so many rules for myself when I was in school just so I could freaking get through it. So but anyway, yeah. So this song makes me think of like driving in traffic and just like trying to come up with like the melody and the chorus and stuff. But it's basically just for not apologizing for one, like if you have mental health things going on, that's not to feel like you have to apologize for not going out with your friends or not keeping up with your friends like the way most people would. Like for me, it sounds silly, a thing I even put in the liner notes, like I get anxiety answering the phone, and I think that started from when I was a kid. And my dad's a pastor, and so we were always getting phone calls from the house. And people, my dad would, and my dad predominantly spoke at Spanish churches, and so we'd get calls in Spanish. But also, my family is like, my dad's Mexican, my mom is Peruvian, so Spanish is just something that we were surrounded by. I didn't speak Spanish very well, especially growing up. Like, I think it was the first language we had, and then as soon as we were around other kids, whatever, like
it was done.
It was done, yeah. And we really didn't practice, I don't want to throw my parents under the bus because they did try, but like we spoke English in the house, and so like answering the phone, and this is like back in the like in the 90s, we had to answer the phone, and then ask who it was, and I don't know. I guess this is all happening right now as I'm sharing this. I don't think I've ever talked about this part of it ever, but yeah, answering the phone was very stressful for me as a child, and it carried on through adulthood. And now I really don't like talking on the phone, or someone calls me, I straight up ignore it, and I will text you. Like, and I try to, especially people that know me, I feel like for the most part they kind of get it. But Yeah, that's just
normally to put in perspective, I only call you to get you to look at the text message I sent you 30 minutes before. Like if I text you and I don't hear back from you and we're like meeting up or we have something going on, I'll only call you, one, because I figure you're not going to pick up, and then two, because if you see the missed call, you're going to go to the text and then you're going to see the text that I'd sent. Because for those of you who don't know or don't realize this, he has a new phone right now, so it doesn't look as crazy. But before this, like, this is the guy that has like 138 unread text messages and like 768 unread emails and just...
Oh, dude, I'm at like 14 something, 14.
It's a little ridiculous. So 14,107 unread emails. So, which is why we set up a different email for this particular podcast that I'm watching and
which
I'm
I've
monitoring.
read and I responded to.
Yeah. We do have a question. We'll talk about it after we finish up the record. But yeah, it's definitely I don't take it personal if Mike doesn't pick up the phone.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy that I'm gotten into music the way I did and that I tour and I get anxiety around crowds. Like, yeah. I don't like being around groups of people. I'm really good in like small groups. I'm really good one-on-one, but it's just like, it's, you know, I had to learn how to create boundaries for myself. I had to really create boundaries when I was in school. Again, I wasn't a good student, so I had to like really make sure that I was in control of my time and stuff. But yeah, it's just about like not apologizing for keeping yourself like happy and healthy and safe. Because I used to like burn myself out just because I felt like I needed to see everybody, especially when I came home, like would come home from tour. You know, that's the thing. Like I want to see everybody. I want to see so many friends I want to see. But like at the same time, like I was burnt out and I needed to like recharge. I needed to do all that stuff, and I didn't. And I wouldn't take care of myself. And then when I started to do it, I kind of could feel people kind of being a little, like, I don't know, not hurt, a little hurt by it, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
There's something to say. I mean, for people that play in a band and that have toured, that will understand that, like, you know, especially when you're in a band that's not, you know, on a bus 24/7, that's not, you know, like flying to all your shows or just like, you know, doing like really comfortable traveling. Like a lot of your time is just spent with you and you, depending on how many members of your band, there's like, you know, 6-7 people crammed into a little tiny space that all live together. And then that's it day in and day out. Like, yeah. You're, you know, if you're just essentially driving and, you know, like, so being able to come back home and being able to just reset, even though there's people you haven't seen, like you've been on the road for 6 months, you haven't seen your friends back home, but there's also an aspect to it of like, I also need to go home and just be alone and just be by myself, because you don't get enough of that, you know, on a normal basis.
This is kind of, I don't know if this is kind of off subject, but I don't know why I'm thinking about this. I'm kind of throwing my cousin under the bus. My cousin Erica, I don't know if she'll see this. But I remember like coming back from tour, and like my cousin would invite me out, you know, to go like hang out with her friends, like they're at a bar or whatever. And I remember like telling her like, hey, like Erica, like I kind of don't want to go out. Like, or I just, you know, like, hey, you know, like, let me know if you want to go see a movie or you want to do something else. And then she's like, what? She's like, dude, I see all these pictures of you having fun on tour. I hear about you having fun when, you know, with your friends when you're back and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, but like, it's different when you're on tour. Like, I don't know how to explain this. And I'm sure somebody's like, oh, boo-hoo. Like, you're out every night, you know? And it's like, it's not like that. Like, I try to explain it to people, like, think of a time that you went out and you're out late and you had a good time. Cool. How'd you feel the next day? Cool. Even if you didn't do anything, like you're just out late. You're tired. Okay. How would you feel if you had to go out and do the exact same thing the next night? And people can be like, oh, well, you don't have to go out. Well, I kind of do because we have well, and also like we're not a very big band, so we're always, you know, sometimes the person that we're staying with that night is going out, so we go out we go out too, and so you're just like, it's this constant pattern of, you know, you're out late anyway because of the show, and then usually after the show, you know, people want to like talk or they want to go hang out or they want to go eat, whatever it is. Eating was fine. I was always down to eat. So always down to eat after the show. Yeah. And so it's just like, so you're out late and you're doing that, and it's like, imagine doing that for a full week, and then imagine it for a full month, like every night for a month. Imagine doing that every night for 2 months. Like that's touring. That's what and so it's like, yeah, it's fun and you have a good time, and like once you're out with people, and it's nice to see people, and I loved connecting with people, but it's just like it's draining and it's hard, and when you're, so all I have to say is when you're home, it's nice to not do anything. It's nice to just be home, you know. And it's like, I guess I kind of talked about this on the last podcast we did, but it's just like doing just like normal boring shit was like amazing for me. Like even now, like I go to movies by myself.
Yeah.
Don't care. It's fun.
It's funny you mentioned that because so in 2010 when I was working for Atticus, I remember there being a date where I think it was like one of the Warped Tour days off, and I want to say it was like Punk Rock Bowling or something like that was going on, and I was with the Whitechapel dudes, so we happened to get a hotel that night because I want to say that they were either not going or they were doing like, it was like Whitechapel, Amir, and somebody else were doing like a one-off show somewhere else. So everybody got a hotel because it was like, we get this hotel room, like everybody chill and relax and stuff. And some of the crew went one way, bands went the other way, and you know, everybody invited me, and I was like, hey, I think I'm just gonna chill. And like I remember like getting my laptop and then going downstairs for like continental breakfast and just sitting there for like 2 hours by myself, and then I was like, I think I'm gonna go see a movie. And I just looked around the area. There was a movie theater like 3-4 blocks away, so I just walked to the movie theater and I watched Karate Kid, the reboot,
the Will Smith,
yeah,
Will Smith's son?
with the Jaden Smith version with Jackie Chan. And I was like, oh, this movie's not that great, but
this feels great.
Yeah, this is great. And then I walked back and then just kind of like grabbed some food, hung out again. Then when everybody came back, like, oh, what'd you do today? I was like, nothing.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah.
It was like one of the best things ever because I was just by myself, like not worried about anything, not like, yeah, it was nice.
Dude, I freaking love. It's funny what people think, and it's like okay, so especially in the early days, like, yeah, it was cool to be out late and like, you know. But it's funny because as we kind of matured and got older, you know, some of our friends whose houses we'd stay at all the time, it kind of the same deal. And so like in the early days where it's like, oh, we're gonna party all night. Mm-hmm. Now it's like
those same people.
It's like we're gonna go get there's a little corner like go get Mexican food, and then we're gonna just like watch like something on Netflix. And it's like, that sounds amazing. Yeah. Like, yes. And it's like, oh, so we can go and we can like maybe shower before bed, watch a movie. Like that's like, and like, I feel like there'd be times when people feel like, I almost feel like they had to like, they thought like maybe they had to throw a party. Yeah. And it's like, no, no, you don't have to do that. We can just chill. Like,
I even remember being up in the Bay, in Berkeley at Jake's, and I remember it was we either played shows or we were recording, one of the two, and it was like towards the end of the run of whatever we were doing. And that day, Steve, drummer for Voodoo Glow Skulls now, fucking machine. So Steve just kind of like,
drums on a census filter.
Steve just kind of stepped out for a few minutes, and we were all like laying around watching Entourage. I think like we were just watching Entourage in the house, and we were just relaxing. And Steve walks back in the door with those good humor strawberry shortcake pops, and he just starts passing them out to everybody. So like here's all these, you know, a bunch of thick boys like sitting in a living room just eating popsicles together, and it was like the greatest, like the greatest feeling. Like we're just like, fuck this, like we're just gonna hang out and just watch TV. And it's still one of my favorite memories.
Dude, me and Jesus, little Jeezy, he did merch. He's merch guy extraordinaire. We'd go to Dairy Queen every now and then. We just get ice cream, even though both of us do not do well with like dairy. But it was nice.
That's amazing.
But yeah. So anyway, I think that's it for the song.
That's the record. That's the EP.
Record.
So before we go, we did. So what we're doing with this show, and it's going to make sense when you guys see and hear these drop, is we're kind of pre-recording a few episodes. At this point, we may make this a two-parter as well. I don't know. We'll see. But we're pre-recording some episodes, and we want to drop them all at once. That way you guys have something to listen to while we work on the next few episodes. Yeah. So these first couple of episodes, they're going to be really awkward because we're still figuring stuff out. We've got the one camera going that we have to like start recording again every 30 minutes because it doesn't continuously record, you know, and we're winging it right now. But the plan is that when these episodes drop, you guys will be able to listen to essentially what's been going on, which was the last episode, and then now talking about the EP. And around the time that this comes out should be right around the time that the EP is dropping as well. So we're trying to time that all together. But that being said, last week when we did record the first part for the show, we opened up the email essentially. So once again, we want to have an opportunity for you guys to write in and you guys to ask your questions, anything. It could be a statement. It could be, you know, a genuine question. It could be advice. It could be like, hey man, your show kind of fucking sucks. And we'd be like, hey, we know. Cool.
How do we fix it?
Yeah. What can we do to make it better? You know, stuff like that.
At least be constructive or clever.
Yeah. If you roast us, but it's funny, we'll take it.
And we'll say it.
Yeah. And we'll read it live on air.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like literally ask. I feel like the obvious ones would be mental health stuff, you know, which is great. Please send those. But also, yeah, like anything you want to either know or ask about us. We're both pretty big in like comic book movies.
in size and stature. Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah. So yeah, I just feel like
comic book movies, TV shows, music.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If there's any music you want us to check out or get our thoughts on, send it.
And it doesn't have to just be punk rock and hardcore.
Yeah.
It can be anything. I'm a huge fan of boy bands from the 90s and early 2000s, you know?
The only boy band from that era is Boyz II Men.
Anyways, that being said, if you want to reach out to us, send us a video, send us a message, write it out, send us an audio clip if you want us to play your audio. Also, one of the things I want to ask is let us know if you want us to use your name or your full name or not at all. Or if you just want to be anonymous, because we're going to respect that 1,000%. So I did have an email that I wanted to talk to you about, and you've read it, but you know, and I'm not going to read your last name, you know, just because I don't know if you want that or not. But this email came in from Alex, and he's kind of got like a 2-part question for you. So he said, how do you cope with depression and anxiety? I know everyone has their own ways of dealing with everything that they go through, and some don't bother going to a doctor to get diagnosed. And then the second part is, what is your take on suicide? I know we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier, but Alex said, how do you cope with that, as in thinking of suicide but never actually going through with it, and just having it as a thought in the back of your head? And he did say in his email, not saying that I'm going to commit it or anything, just thinking of it and being it on someone's mind. Here's another thing too, that I just want to say personally. If you're at that point where like you're emailing us and this is a genuine thought, I want you to tell us that. And I want you to give us your number, whatever the case may be. Like, I'll give you my number. I want to talk to you. I don't want you to feel like you're sending us a question and then just wait, if this is something that is, genuinely going on, I want to talk to you about it.
Yeah, because had he not clarified that, we would have responded to him a lot sooner.
So I guess So Mike, sorry about the dogs.
Chewy.
So how do you cope with depression and anxiety?
So anxiety, actually, we kind of just talked about this 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I had an anxiety attack. I actually had it. I woke up. I had it was a dream. I don't think we've talked about my work.
No.
Hey, we can like that's the whole thing.
We can go into that maybe next episode. We'll because we probably need to figure out what you can and can't talk about.
Yeah, I know. I have an idea. I mean, I'm not going to say the place. Obviously, I can't use names and all that stuff.
Right.
But anyway, I woke up in a full-on panic attack. Like, I've never had this happen to me. I don't know that anyone's ever, like, I've woken up obviously panicked. I've woken up, I think everyone's done that. But I woke up in a full-on panic. I couldn't breathe. I had to I was like on my hands and knees on my bed trying to catch my breath, and I right away. It's so weird waking up because I'm like, normally when I feel myself having a panic attack, I kind of have my things that I do.
Techniques.
Yeah. And it took me a minute because I was literally like fighting for air. I could not breathe. I was taking deep breaths. I was on my hands and knees basically, and then thankfully I right away thought of it's called grounding. So this is a method that I highly recommend. I use this a lot, and normally in an ideal situation you want to one of the best ways that I was taught it is you want to be able to sit down at a table and really just have your feet planted. You can have your hands on the table, you can have your hands on your knees, and just basically start from your feet. And describe it. Describe if you're wearing shoes or if you're barefoot, whatever, how the ground feels is it cold? Are you on carpet? Anything. The whole point is it's you're trying to zero in and just focus on the present and what you're doing and disrupting what your thought process, what's going on in that moment. And so you want to kind of describe things and describe how you're feeling, describe how you're breathing. It was I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning, pitch black in my room. I'm on my hands and knees. I don't have that clarity to go sit somewhere and do my grounding. So I was just on my hands and knees, and I thought, and from there I just told myself, okay, I started describing what it was being on my bed, how my bed felt, my breathing. And so basically grounding helped me calm down, enough to the point where I went downstairs, I drank water, and then I just kind of walked around my kitchen counter. And it was cold, but I kind of needed that. I was barefoot and stuff, and I don't know, just it was was kind of soothing for me to kind of just walk around, drinking water. One of my go-tos when I'm having an anxiety attack is I will basically, at first it started, and this happened in my last year at school. And what I would do is I would take a bite out of a lemon, and usually that would help and just shocking my system. And the point of biting into a lemon is you want to also just describe it, for what it is, the texture, how you know, the bitterness and, you know, if it's burning your lips or whatever, like you want to describe that. And I remember school was very stressful for me. I loved my time there, but it was very stressful. And I remember it started out where I would just take a bite, and then that would be really good for like getting me to kind of just start to calm down, start to kind of break that stream, and start to calm down. And then it got to the point where I've eaten like an apple. I've eaten entire lemons.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, wait, like rind and all? Like,
yeah. Like I'm biting it like an apple. So
yeah.
So I get pretty bad anxiety. So what I do, like I said, grounding is probably the best thing that I kind of do as far as it gets me to kind of refocus. Oh, I think I was telling Mike this too. So mind you, I just woken up. I was
You're
kind
too tired to go find a lemon.
Yeah, too tired to go find a lemon. But also, as I'm trying to ground myself and just focus on what I'm feeling, I started to like think about the situation that put me in that state in the first place. And so I'm like spiraling again as I'm like, no, Mike, like focus.
Started having like a meltdown about the meltdown.
Yeah. So, but anyway, but eventually I was able to get myself calm and go downstairs. So, grounding is big. I do different things, like walking is really good for me. Breathing, I'm really big on breathing. I have a treadmill, and I have like a bike, a stationary bike. And when I feel like it's becoming a lot, like I will, or if I'm gonna have one, I'll go like usually on my bike. I kind of find it's easier because I'll ride, and then I'll just really focus on like breathing. You know, taking it through your nose, holding it, and then out your mouth, and just repeating that. And I'll do that for as long as it takes. I had one time where I did it for a full on just half hour just breathing, and it was nice. I calmed myself down. When I was done, I felt great. Going on a walk, riding my bike is really helpful. One of my things personally that I like to use is I try to use gratitude. And what that for me looks like is I start very basic, and what that means is I just tell myself, like, I'm thankful that I can walk. I'm thankful that that my hands work. I can wipe my own ass. I know that sounds really silly, but like, I'm thankful for that. That I at least have that. I'm thankful that my vision is like not great, but it works. I can still see. I'm thankful that I can still taste things. Thankful I can still smell. Thankful for, you know, things like that, physical things that I can still physically do. I can stand up on my own. Things like that I'm thankful for. And then from there, I start going into like the people in my life that I'm thankful for. You know, my family, my nieces. And then sometimes I'll even go into, like, if that's not working, I have time. Okay. Oh, and then I'll have where I'm like like situations I'm thankful for. Like, I was thankful that even though school was stressful, that I had the opportunity to do it. I was thankful for the work that I had. I was thankful for having, even though it was like past tense, I was thankful for the opportunity that I had to do music. I was thankful for an opportunity to coach baseball, things like that I'm like thankful for. And there's times where, like, this is kind of one of my go-tos. I recommend this for a lot of people. And I commonly get, like, after they've tried it, they're like, oh, that works so well. And then like a week later, they're like, I went through all my things, and I'm like, I still feel like shit. Okay. So I was just saying how, like, what happens when you've gone through all the things that you feel that you're thankful for and you still feel awful. I do it again.
You just start back.
And then I do it again.
Start back at one.
Dude, I don't know what my record is for how many times I've had to keep repeating it to the point where, like, and the thing is, when you do it, like, be like as sincere as you can, like really focus on what it is that you're thankful for. Like, and usually it takes, you know, I forget how many times I've done it, but it usually eventually it'll kind of get me going, or at least, again, it changes how I'm thinking. And then my thoughts will go in a different avenue, you know. If I'm, you know, whatever it is. Like if I'm thankful that I, had an opportunity to coach baseball, then I start thinking about baseball. And I start maybe thinking about the Angels.
So
and how we have Mike Trout.
So these are all like kind of techniques, like when you're having those anxiety attacks or panic attacks or whatever. So what would you say is kind of like dealing with your anxiety in from a day-to-day basis? Like, even if it's not like a full-blown anxiety attack, how do you go about that from, just your normal everyday anxieties?
So one of the things that helps me is I have things to look forward to, and they're as small as like my first thing is usually that I get to shower, which is, I know that sounds weird. Like touring really messed me up mentally. Like I shower, I love it just because on tour you don't get to do it when you normally would have that opportunity. Like it's just not there. You realize you take it for granted. So
laundry too.
Yeah.
Laundry too. You realize how awesome it is to have clean clothes.
Yes. Oh my God. We can do a whole thing. But so like, the opportunity, like once I get up, like, okay, I'm showering. I enjoy showering. And then the next one is that I get to get coffee. That's like a big one for me. And people ask, like, does caffeine really like affect you? And I don't think it affects me like at all. For me, coffee is mental. It's completely mental. It's just, I just feel good when I get it. Like I enjoy how it tastes, and I enjoy, even if the line's crazy, I am usually at my shop that I used to work at. And so it's just nice to see like familiar faces, and yeah, so coffee is just like something I look forward to, that process. And then, there's different things that like if I'm at work, there's different parts of my shift at work that I look forward to. And then if they don't happen, I have kind of like backups. And I'm like, okay, well, if we didn't get to do this, then it'll be cool when we get to this, or we get to do that, or when so-and-so does this. And so I kind of just give myself little things to look forward to. And, for myself, it is not good, but it's been helpful for me, is I look forward to getting something to eat when I get off work, and it's late at night. And so it's usually bad comfort food like Taco Bell or Jack in the Box. I hadn't had Jack in the Box forever. Like I missed it, but that's not the best. One night I got really excited to go home and make myself a smoothie. That should be like what I do every night, but being completely honest, I don't. I've done all the fast food chains out here. But it's just something I look forward to when I get off work. But for me personally, like that's a habit. I need to eventually get a little better in what I'm eating that late. But different things. On a day where I'm not working, it's again, I try to give myself things to look forward. And I want to, and making things intentional. And all of us can get really caught up in our phones. I'm very guilty of being on my phone a lot. But like sometimes I'll tell myself like, I'm not going to watch this podcast until this time. And it's like a little event for me. And I feel good when I get to that point, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this conspiracy. No, I was kidding. I'm going to watch this, or like a show. Like right now I'm actually watching, I started watching The Sopranos. And so,
you finally did start it?
Yeah, okay. I'm on season 2 already.
Nice.
And so like for me, just for instance, tomorrow I'm off tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to, I'm gonna look forward to getting. I'm not gonna start The Sopranos until I get my coffee. So I'm gonna get to go out and get coffee, and then I'm gonna watch like an episode or 2 of The Sopranos. I don't know, just things like that. Try to go out to eat. Maybe go out with my mom or something. I don't know, but I just try to give myself little things to look forward to in the day. Because then they're just kind of like, when you reach them, they're just like nice little celebrations, little victories, a little breath of fresh air. And it doesn't have to be, they don't have to be these grand things, like I said, it could be getting coffee. It could be where you, like, if you're at work, where like you tell yourself, I'm going to go outside at this point, and I'm going to just go outside, do some breathing, and go back in. And if that's something you look forward to, and if it's such a short little break, like that can go such a long way.
Appreciate the little wins.
Yeah, little wins, man. Celebrate the wins.
I would say another thing that'll probably help too is just taking care of your own health, like physically. And I know for me, like right now, I'm probably back up in weight to like one of the bigger sizes I've been.
Same.
And that's honestly like a combination of, you know, new job, stress, you know, whatever the case may be. But like I noticed, like I completely noticed the difference in my anxiety levels when I feel like unhealthy and I'm like feeling overweight or whatever the case may be. Like I'm not training like I was, I'm not lifting weights or running, versus like when I'm actually like, by no means am I like a fitness guy or like
An Adonis.
Yeah, I'm not an Adonis, but you know, just in general, just like taking care of yourself versus not, you can feel the absolute difference. Yeah. Even if it's just something like you said, like as little as walking, like every day, just do something active, get outside, get some like, you know, sunlight.
Dude, hiking for me, hiking, I haven't hiked, I guess months now, really, but I was doing hiking, kind of like every weekend I would go, and that helped me so much. It was such a nice, I would never ever think I'd be a hiker.
Yeah, no.
I miss it. I haven't done it in so long. I actually miss it, but it was like super helpful for me to go be out and, you know, get exercise and stuff. And for me, what that did, kind of going where like for me, like that hike, whatever it was, no matter how long or short, it kind of set the tone for my week. I feel like.
Should we do a walking blind hike one of these days?
Yes.
Challenge accepted. If you,
yes, dude,
that'd be kind of sick.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I know some spots.
Well,
so, but yeah, definitely health. Taking care of yourself is big for mental health. Yeah. What was this? What was the second part of that?
So the second part was, how do you? Well, what's your take on suicide, and then how do you cope with that? As in having the thought of suicide, but never actually going through with it. It's just a thought that kind of lives in the back of your mind.
Okay. Well,
this is a tough one.
Yeah. My thought on suicide, obviously it's just sad, and it's a reality.
It reminds me of, we sent that video back and forth to each other of the 911 call of a little sister who had just found her sibling's body. I think he shot himself or something like that.
Oh yeah. And
you can hear like the absolute pain in like this girl's voice, where she's talking to the 911 operator, saying that, you know, she found her, and you could tell she's a kid on the phone, you know, and she's found her brother and that he died by a bullet. Like she didn't really know how to fully know how to articulate what had happened. Yeah. And then at the same time, you can hear her still trying to talk to her brother. Like the conversation jumps back and forth between her telling the 911 operator what's happening and then going back to the brother. And the brother had committed suicide. And it's this thought or the idea of like, you know, when it comes down to suicide, obviously in this scenario, your well-being and your mental health is the most important thing to be thinking about. But another thing to consider when you're feeling low like that, and when you're feeling, you know, those thoughts creeping in, is, you know, there are people around you that love you and care for you. You know, I mean, I consider most of my friends, especially my close friends, to be like family, and I, you know, would do anything for them. I would, you know, anything that they would ask. And I'm also not very good at showing emotions, right? So in my head, I just expect my friends to know how much I care for them and how much I love them. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that, you know, you may feel like there's somebody, or you may feel like you're alone, when really there are people that care about you. There are people that, you know, give a shit, like to say it in the most like plain way, like, you know, and, you know, maybe that thought, keeping that in the back of your mind would help in knowing that, you know, there are going to be people that are going to miss you, that need you, that love you, that care about you. And essentially you're not only hurting yourself, and this is not one of those statements where like, oh, they're so selfish. This is just like fact. Like, you're not just affecting your own life. You're affecting everybody that has come into contact with you as well.
Yeah. You're important. That's the thing too. Like, I don't know if people like the idea of like, oh, like, well, now I'll be missed or now I'll be important. It's like, no, you were important before, you know? And I don't know. I think the whole conversation is, you know, I think everyone could do such a better job of just being able to like, what's the word? Like, we don't appreciate each other more. Like, we don't really tell people like, oh, I appreciate this about you, or just being you, or just being my friend, or just, you know, even if it's family, like that, like stuff like that goes such a long way. And I feel like, I don't know,
and I sent you this song. So if you're listening to this show, I have, especially right now, I have a feeling that you're into, you know, like punk rock, hardcore, whatever. But if you're into hip hop, or even if you're not even into hip hop, if you are just looking for a song with a message about this, there's a song by a rapper named Joyner Lucas. The song is called I'm Sorry. And it's from the perspective of his like brother taking his own life. And you're seeing both sides of the coin essentially in the song, because in the first part, it's the suicide letter, you know, told in a way, you know, for the song. And then the second verse picks up after he's committed suicide, and it's from the perspective of Joyner, or from the brother, you know, and it kind of goes to show, you know, the struggle, and shows, you know, these ideas, these mentalities from both sides. And honestly, like when I listen to that song, even if I'll just be driving the car, like I've heard the song 1,000 times, and I'll still like get emotional listening to it. And then and then even seeing the music video, it's, you know, it's a really good perspective on something like that.
it's really good at covering like the thoughts of what, like, you know,
the pain, the anger, the frustration, the, you know, there's so much that goes into it. And I mean, honestly, like if the thought, you know, the question is like, you know, how do you deal with the thoughts of suicide, even if you never do it? I would say talk to somebody. Like, I think that there's, you know, there's more people out there that care than you think or even realize, you know, and sometimes we just need people to hear what we're saying. Sometimes we just feel like we're not heard, or sometimes we just feel like we're not able to get our message or our point across. And sometimes that needs to be said, you know, or sometimes it'll even just help to just fully vocalize what you're feeling and your emotions, because a lot of times all of this shit is just pent up, and you're holding all of this inside without having a place to release it, having a place to escape from it, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's tough too. It puts you in definitely a different place.
I think like personally, suicide and like thoughts of suicide, like I've definitely, you know, it's something that crosses my mind. For everyone who doesn't know, mine always comes after something good has happened for me. And so there's a couple people that know, like, a couple people don't know that, like, you know, whenever something good happens for me, it's almost like they want to check up on me because it's like, hey, how you feeling? Because I don't know what it is, but that's what it's been for me. I have just severe downs after a big high. And I think maybe that's why, like, I always try to keep such an even keel for myself, because I feel like if I ever get too high on something, I just know what's following it. And so for me, like, what happens when I start thinking about suicide, I just kind of, and mind you, so for me personally, I've had a lot of experience with this. Like, obviously I've struggled with this in my teens. I've struggled with this when I was touring. I've struggled with this, you know, even, you know, fairly recently, you know. But for me, I have a couple things. So one, I think everyone should have a plan. I know it sounds kind of like, what, like a plan, but I feel like you should always have a plan of how you're going to, when you feel a certain way, always give yourself like little safeguards to do.
Oh, we lost the camera. Hold on.
Everyone should have a plan, and it doesn't have to be that extravagant, but it should always, you know, have you know, things that, like, coping strategies that you have that you can do. Like I said, some of them can be, you know, going on a walk, find something to do, find something hopefully healthy to eat. Another thing too is have, like, it's part of your plan and safeguards, is almost like an emergency contact, is to have people that, you know, you can reach out to. And thing with this is, like, usually you want to let them know, like, hey, I just want you to know that, like, I have you as who I'm contacting, you know. I think that's good to have. Or if not, just, you know, they don't even have to know. Yeah. Just someone that, you know, you can call and you can talk to, and, you know, hopefully it's a good conversation. You know, I don't know why you pick someone who wasn't, like, someone who was negative. Yeah. But
we all have that one guy.
Yeah. But it's just, you know, you just want to have a plan. And so, like I said, for myself, I have my different steps that I use for myself. I also really think about the people in my life, and I know, like, this sounds like, oh, well, I'm sure other people do it too. I'm just saying, like, for me, that's helpful for me. I have 2 nieces that, it's kind of weird. They kind of help me with, like, a lot of different things positively. Like, they're kind of like a go-to for me. And so, yeah, just I think have a plan in place that you can follow. Another thing too is be very try to be aware of and real about how you're feeling and what it is you're feeling at the moment. That way you can know, like, oh, okay, this is teetering, this is getting into that area, and you start implementing this plan. I need to go on a walk, or I need to call this person, or I need to do this activity, or I need to start doing this, you know. And then give yourself you know, mark, like, I don't know what the word is, but a point where you know that, like, once you've kind of gone through it and you still feel like you're in that headspace of you know, possibly ending your life, and that's when you want to get help. You know, there's hotlines you can call. You know, you can call the police. You can call and I know, like, it sounds bad to call the police, but they can send you know, what's called, like, an ambulance, or they can. So this is kind of an interesting one, because there's a conversation that I've had with several people about the bad sides of getting help professionally, or, like, calling, like, and so
like wellness checks.
Yeah. And man, and so, like, it's tough, because I've heard some really bad stories about it, but I think overall, like, for the most part, like, especially if they're taking you to a place that specializes in that, and can just watch you and just kind of until you're feeling better, you know. Usually good places can get you in front of somebody who's like a crisis specialist, and they can help you, and they can kind of talk you down and all that stuff. I don't know. I think I'll always kind of just side on, you know, siding on caution, where call, that's another thing that can be part of your plan too. See what resources you have in your area, because every place is different, and you'd be surprised too. Like there's clinics all over the place, and there's hotlines that are specific to the area you're at, because you want to be able to. The reason they're specific to your area is because obviously if they know you're in the area, they know what hospital to contact, or they would know, it's just there's resources in your area. So I think that's something that you can do is have that part of your plan. Know what the resources are in your area, where the help is, and if you don't feel like you can make that call, have that conversation with a friend, and just be like, hey, if I contact you, like, and I tell you that this is what it is, like, I need you to make that call for me, maybe. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you can do, but I think having a plan is the best place to start when your thoughts are going there, because it's not something that you can just be like, well, when I get there, I'll deal with it when I get there. Like, you're not in the right state of mind. So it's something you can't really, you don't want to mess with that. You want to kind of know more or less what you're doing. And, just have, I guess, I feel like I've said it like 9 times, a plan.
I think it's also, and I pulled it up because I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information. There is a national suicide prevention line, 24 hours, English, Spanish. So that is something that's available to you, and that is at 1-800-273-8255. And this is, it's free, it's confidential. This is just, if you can't get a hold of somebody to talk to, this is it. I mean, it is a good option. Yeah. It's available to you. Because, we can say it time and time again that you're not alone, but it's at the moments when you feel most alone where you need to realize it, and you need to kind of see it or feel it. And, even if that's like your absolute worst case scenario, I mean, to me, like, dude, program this shit in your phone. Yeah. Put it under like some weird name, like Bill.
That's a good idea.
Like, it doesn't have to say suicide prevention hotline on your phone. Like, you save the number and put it under like, whatever name that you want it to be. And then, if you're ever feeling that, if you're ever feeling this way, and you're ever feeling like this is something that you don't have anywhere else to turn, you don't have anyone else to talk to, hit that speed dial. Like, it's like the stigma that you're weak, or the stigma that you should just be able to handle this, is outdated, and it's honestly bullshit. And like, we don't talk enough about the fact that, like, even the strongest of people, and dude, some of the toughest dudes that we know, go through the same thing that you're going through. And
dude, I mean, I don't know who follows boxing. Tyson Fury,
yeah,
the heavyweight champ. He it's interesting hearing him talk with his dad, because his dad's kind of very old school too, and kind of not understanding how to help his son at the time, and just how, hearing his story and how they went through his mental health. And that's the heavyweight champion of the world. That dude can literally beat up a ton of people. You know what I mean? So it's just like, everyone goes to this. Robin Williams, one of the funniest dudes ever. Like,
yeah. So
this affects everyone, and it's serious. And so, like, I think that's kind of, why I've chosen to do what I do, is just to kind of hopefully create conversations. That's, if we're being honest, it's like what I'm doing with MBR, there's different styles of genre I can do. Obviously, I love punk rock and hardcore, but you know, for me, it's I've had an opportunity to, you know, advocate through music, and you know, especially with this EP that we did. I hope my hope is that you know, obviously, like, yeah, I want people to like it, and I hope people genuinely enjoy the music, but also, like, I hope this starts conversations, and I hope this you know, is empowering for someone who needs to hear it, or validates someone who needs it. But I don't know. I guess it's always a long roundabout question about how do we. What's the question? How do we feel about suicide?
And how do you cope with
and
suicide
how to cope
as a thought, not that.
Yeah, it's it's the thing too, is be real about it too. Like, don't, like, for me, and I'm saying this, like, this is me talking to myself. Like, I've had a real hard time, like, because especially once I realized like what my depression was and what my situation was, and I just thought like, oh well, everyone thinks about like what it would be like to just not be here anymore, you know, and you know, be honest with yourself when you're thinking that, and don't take it lightly, you know. If you're having those thoughts, like, it's serious, you know, whether you think you'll act on it or not, you know. It's something everyone goes through, so it's not anything to be ashamed of or feel embarrassed about. Like what Mike was saying, like, you know, a lot of people go through this. It's not a weakness. You know, don't feel like you're I don't know, I want to word this, not, I don't want to mess up this wording, but like, I used to think my idea of like ending my life was different than how other people did. So I never took my own thoughts about it that serious for myself. That's for me. And I just thought like, oh, well, like, even though I feel this way, even though it feels tempting to like just pull a hard left on the freeway, it's like,
There's a fly.
I know. it's you know, like the you're thinking it for a reason, you know. And so yeah, just have a plan. You know, if you're thinking it, like, don't, I don't know what the word is, don't think something's wrong with you, or that you're a bad person for thinking that, you know, or that you're a selfish person for thinking that. Like, you're thinking that you feel that way for a reason, right? You're not feeling that way for nothing. You know, and if you're diagnosed with depression, like, there might not even be a reason for why you feel that way, you know. Right. That's the other thing too. A lot of people think like, oh well, it can't be that because like nothing bad has happened to me. It's like, well, you don't need anything bad to happen to you. It's just it's what it is, man. Like, your brain is making you think certain things that, you know, may not necessarily be the reality. And that's going back to the whole real versus feel. You know, you may feel like no one wants you around. You may feel like you're not important, or that your life doesn't hold value. You may feel that, but that's like not real. That's not the truth. You know, you're valuable. Like, everyone has value. And yeah, I don't know.
Do you, I guess, just to kind of like tidy this up a little bit, and Alex, I hope we answered your question. And if
Thank you for sending that in, by the way.
And if you want us to talk further about it, we're not fighting flies that are randomly appeared that weren't here for the first 2 hours. Yeah. If you know, there's something that you want us to go more in depth on, or because I know we're both kind of ADD and our thoughts are all over the place, but you know, if you have questions, or you have something more you want us to talk about, hit us in the emails. For everybody else, walkingblindpod@gmail.com is the email address. Once again, you can send in a video, you can send in audio, you can just send in a normal written email, whatever the case may be. Like, we want to talk to you guys. By the time this comes up, we should have the Walking Blind Pod Instagram up and running.
Yeah.
We will we are still going to try and keep all the submissions on the email address to keep it all in one place. But if you want to send like video messages or anything like that through that page, we'll have that as well. And then the podcast should be live. So to kind of tie in Alex's question together, and just a thought that I had to end the show, how do you feel about actually going to a doctor and getting clinically diagnosed versus just feeling these feelings and winging it, essentially? Do you think that there's more validity to going to a doctor, like you, because I know you kind of mentioned like going through the proper channels sometimes isn't, you know.
Well, the negative part is when like it's like in the
emergency
settings, is when there's been, I know there's people that have bad experiences, but going to get diagnosed, like seeing a professional and actually getting official diagnosis, I think is great, you know, because then you find out, you know, even if like you find out like, you know, sometimes something is situational, you know, like something happens and you're just in that state of depression. Then, you know, they can help you, they can give you tools to work on daily to kind of help you work through that, you know. They might be able to pinpoint, they might be able to help you figure out what it is that is causing what you're feeling. But then also, you know, if you go in, you find out that you're clinically diagnosed, and then they can, you know, they can help you get on the right track for you know, getting on the right medication, you know, regardless of what people's thoughts are on it. I know that's like it's I guess anything could be a touchy subject, but yeah, medication, you know, it is helpful, you know, depending on what it is you have, you know. And that's the other thing too, you know, you don't want to just assume that you have something and then go off and find it on your own. You want to make sure that you kind of know, because some of these medications can, if misdiagnosed, they can be more harmful than good. But yeah, I'd say if you're, there's no harm in going to find out for sure, like what it is you might be experiencing. And if nothing else, I feel like going in to see a professional, like just to even like to see like a therapist or a counselor of some kind, like
Somebody to talk to.
Just someone to talk to. I think that is great. My school offered it, which was nice, and I went in knowing what I had in mind, and I was like, oh, I'm stressed because of school and stuff. And I walked out realizing that like a big part of my stress was because it was raining, and I had heightened anxiety from my accident. And
which we have to still talk about.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
I think at the end of the day, get help however you can, whichever way you can. Whether it's going to a doctor, therapist, you know, talking to your friends, family, or just reaching out to somebody that, you know, that you feel comfortable with. And don't ever let anybody tell you that you seeking that help, you know, makes you any less than you are. Yeah. That being said, I think we're at almost 3 hours, 2.5 hours on this. So we'll stop rambling with you guys. But after this episode, we're going to start to do a little bit more like kind of a little less, you know, huge material pieces. We're going to be talking to some friends. We're going to be talking to you guys, hopefully. And then we're going to be doing more of just like a day-to-day, everyday life podcast. We want to try and drop this weekly. And we've got some cool things like in the works that we eventually want to figure out. So thank you for bearing with us for these first 2 episodes, which are like 4 parts. These were the catch-up episodes.
Yeah.
So once again,
be patient with us because we're still figuring it out.
Yeah, we're still working this out. We still need a camera intern to handle this. So we don't have to keep running back and forth. But thank you guys so much. walkingblindpod@gmail.com. walkingblindpod on Instagram.
Yeah. Send in your questions or even victories. It doesn't have to be negative.
Yeah. Tell us something cool.
Yeah.
Tell us something cool that happened in your life. Also yell out challenge accepted at NBR shows.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much. Later.
Peace. Well, thank you guys for checking out those intro episodes. Moving forward, hopefully it'll feel more like a podcast, not so much of an interview of myself. But yeah, I appreciate you checking this out. Keep a lookout for episode 3, and we will have more of a set schedule on when we will be releasing each episode. But in the meantime, please email questions, comments, victories, or any struggles you have to walkingblindpod@gmail.com. And you can send a video or an audio file, either one, and hopefully we'll try to get to it in the next episode. Peace.